Hello, I'm Death's Arrow, and welcome to episode 19 of What I'm Thinking. In this episode, I will continue the French tank destroyer tour that I started back in episode 10 by looking at the ARL V39 and the AMX AC Mle 1946. Picking up where our tour left off many months ago brings the Tier 6 ARL V39. From a historical perspective, the V39 was developed in the mid-1930s in competition with the Sommersaw S40. The V39 relied heavily on parts developed from the Char B1 tank. Its main armament was the 75mm APX gun, which was originally developed for destroying fortifications. An interesting feature of the gun was that it could be retracted inside the hull to decrease the vehicle's length. The ARL V39 was approved for serial production in 1939, but no vehicles were produced due to the Nazi invasion in mid-1940. In-game, the ARL V39 is widely considered one of the worst tanks, but I would argue that while this TD has its issues, it can still be effective if played cautiously. The reason for the poor reputation has to do with the limitations of the chassis. It isn't particularly fast, is slow to turn, has mediocre camo, armor that rarely bounces, a machine gun turret that can be shot at when you can't return fire, poor gun traverse, limited gun depression, and limited gun elevation. The one bright spot is the 90mm DCA 45 AC Top Gun. While it does have a long aim time and slow reload, the 212mm of penetration is extremely effective at Tier 6. 32-pounder on the Churchill gun carrier is the only other Tier 6 tank destroyer with a more powerful gun, and only barely at that. Even though researching the DCA 45 AC isn't required to unlock the AMX AC Mle 1946, I highly recommend unlocking this gun, as you'll definitely want to have it when you get to the Model 46. I originally planned not to cover the ARL V39 as I didn't particularly care for the TD. Also, most of my playtime was prior to the 8.0 patch, and I no longer have any of those replays. Skipping the V39 though would be a bit short-sighted. It's a tough TD to play, and those are the vehicles that players particularly want to see replays of. As previously mentioned, the V39 needs to be played cautiously. It's a second-line tank and should never be on the front lines. The tank cannot brawl at all and will easily be torn to shreds. You'll also want to avoid holding down a flank alone. I found the best way to play the V39 is to sit back about 200 to 300 meters behind a push and provide supporting fire. This keeps you out of view range and allows you to fire with impunity. Forget about any fancy tactics you can't hold down with the V39. Find a good spot behind a bush and fire away. For equipment on this tank, I recommend a rammer to improve reload time, an enhanced gun laying drive to improve aim time, and a camo net. Some might say that binocs are more useful on a TD. Personally, I prefer the camo bonus that the camo net provides, although since the gun traverse is limited, either option isn't that particularly useful. For crew skills, this is likely the first tank in the line that you'll be able to train secondary skills, and I highly recommend camo training. This skill will come in handy down the line and will help you stay hidden. Other useful skills are Sixth Sense, clutch braking, and as you progress further down this tree, repair. The later TDs in this line are excellent brawlers, and quick track repair is important in those situations. The replay that we'll be looking at is on Murovanka from November 3rd, 2012. Please note that this is an 8.1 patch battle. As noted at the top of the loading screen, this is an encounter battle. Reviewing tank composition for this battle reveals the following. This is a Tier 8 battle with 6 Tier 8s and 2 Tier 7s per side. My team has 3 Tier 6s while the enemy team has 2. The enemy team has a Tier 5 scout. Both teams have 3 arty pieces. I don't recognize anyone in this match. As the battle loads in, while the tiering of this match isn't particularly favorable, I've drawn the better side of the map given the tank I'm driving. I'll be able to use the so-called magical forest to my advantage. My plan is to go to the northern side of the forest and snipe for our frontline tanks. As the battle gets underway, I begin to head south into the woods. Certainly would not be considered a big threat in this battle. This map is pretty advantageous for this tank. It's generally fairly flat, especially on this side of the map, which means I don't have to deal with small hills and terrain variances that would affect my ability to get shots. We've got a T-50-2 that has penetrated into the forest. Trying to line them up. Shoot, but I'm too late, and our IS takes him down. Got a Super Pershing at G8. Trying to line up. Taking a couple blind shots. Looks like the enemy's got a couple tanks there in the south. ISU just knocked down our Model 46. I have an IS spotted at G7. Heading directly east. Backing up behind these trees for cover. Got a good line of tanks in front of me. Now sliding forward a little bit to the next row of bushes. Definitely playing the second line support role here. I don't want to be up front, although I am maneuvering to try to get better shot alignment. Super Pershing pops up again, and he gets knocked down by IS-3. Pushing up a little further. The Magic Forest can be a double-edged sword at times. It can protect the enemy from being spotted as much as it helps protect your own team if you don't push the southern end of the forest. IS pops up and gets knocked down. Panther at F6. There's the ISU, trying to line them up. Get a hit, no damage. Team's putting a lot of fire on him. That is a tank that definitely needs to be taken down. It's the biggest gun on the enemy team. Get a hit for damage that time, and he disappears from view. Gonna hold my position. Our IS knocks him down, although the ISU knocked down our T-34 first. We're now pushing out of the southern end of the forest and towards the enemy spawn. I am staying behind this IS, although I probably shouldn't be pushing this aggressively. I have a Type 59 in the forest and a Panther. I'm going to line up the Panther. Get a hit. Trying to line up the kill shot here. And I knock him down. Type 59 is still in the woods, but he is on the other side of that small rise in the terrain on the southern end of the forest. KV-1S moving up the middle. Our team is doing a good job on the other flank. Currently have a 2-tank lead. We just lost a 3001H, and the Type 59 gets knocked down. Try to snap a shot at the KV-1S and miss. Going to continue to head south towards the spawn to support our Type 59 and IS. Looking at the mini-map, the enemy hasn't made a play for cap, which likely means they're camping in the G2 area. We continue to push through the enemy spawn, which will lead to flanking opportunities. That would be the KV-1S in the middle again. We've now overrun the enemy spawn. I get hit by a Hellcat. Line him up. Get a hit, and he's knocked down immediately right after by the IS. While I did take a damaging hit from the Hellcat, you can see my positioning in relation to the 2 tanks pushing this flank, which is about 150 meters behind them. M41 out there, and I'm lining him up. Can't get my shot off in time, as our IS knocks him down. Tiger 2 on the hill at F2. As we continue to push this flank, I'm engaging targets at 300 plus meters. This is ideal positioning for this TD. Another already spotted Priest. I try to finish him off here, and I get the kill shot. There's the enemy grill. Trying to line him up. And I get a hit, leave him with 11 hit points though. Likely won't reload in time to get the kill shot. KV-4 spotted at H2. Missed my first shot. Just the KV-4 remaining. Missed my second shot. IS is closed to brawling range. I get damaging hit on the IS-4, and our M41 knocks him down for the win. Based on information from the WoT Replay Manager, I destroyed 2 tanks, damaged 4 more, hit 9 of 14 shots for 1,493 points of damage, and earned 843 experience before the 5 times. Overall, I played a second line support role for this match. This is the appropriate playstyle for the ARL V39, especially in higher tiered matches. While I was at times near the front lines, I never pushed ahead or put myself in a position where I was alone. Once the southern flank was opened up, I was able to sit further back and provide covering fire for our frontline tanks with minimal threat of return fire. The tour continues with the Tier 7 AMX AC Model 1946. From a historical perspective, there isn't a lot to say about the Model 46, since the TD only existed in blueprints. The influence of German tanks on post-war French tank design is undeniable, as the Model 46 bears a strong resemblance to the Jagdpanther, although it's a bit larger. In-game, the Model 46 is where the French tank destroyer line finally gets good, and stays good. All of the TDs from this point onward in the tree are very effective and have a very similar playstyle. The Model 46 is the first decent chassis in the French tank destroyer tree. It has speed, decent traverse, somewhat effective front armor, limited gun traverse, and 10 degrees of gun depression. The Model 46 has two Tier 8 gun options, the 90mm DCA 45 AC and the 100mm SA47 AC. While the 100mm gun has 20mm more penetration and 60 points more damage per shot, it has a 0.6 second longer aim time, and the damage per minute is 288 points lower than the 90mm gun. The longer aim time of the 100mm causes the gun to feel less accurate than the 90mm, even though both guns have the same accuracy rating. I highly recommend running the 90mm gun for this reason. The Model 46 has a much more flexible playstyle compared to the ARL V39 thanks to the superior chassis. Having decent gun depression allows for hull-down style tactics for protecting the vulnerable lower front plate, as well as enhancing the angle of the front armor. Brawling is possible, but targets should be carefully picked to avoid more mobile enemies that can circle you. The front armor is effective enough to bully lower-tiered enemies, particularly those with weaker guns. For equipment on this tank, I recommend a rammer to improve reload time, an enhanced gun lane drive to improve aim time, and binocs for long-range spotting. For crew skills, I highly recommend Camo and Sixth Sense, with repair, clutch braking, recon, and situational awareness as additional skill options. Repair is particularly helpful if you like to brawl to speed up track repairs. The replay that we'll be looking at is on Mountain Pass from December 26, 2012. Please note that this is an 8.2 patch battle. As noted at the top of the loading screen, this is a standard battle. Reviewing tank composition for this battle reveals the following. This is a Tier 7 battle, with 3 Tier 7s and 5 Tier 6s per team. My team has 5 Tier 5s while the enemy team has 6. My team also has a Tier 4 scout. Both teams have a single Tier 4 arty piece. I recognize one player in this battle, and that's Jagdfan from the WoT forums. My plan is to push the 1 line down to J2. Assuming that the enemy doesn't push hard for that spot, I'll be able to use the small hill at that location for cover. Immediately start heading south. The Model 46 has pretty good speed and maneuverability. Looks like we've got 3 tanks that'll cover the ice road. KV-1S and Panther are going to cover the middle. M7 is pushing into the middle valley section. Jagdfan and his Cromwell looks like he's going to stay in the middle, at least to start the match. I'm continuing to push south. No tank spotted yet by the T-49. I'm going to push to that knob up ahead of me. I've made it down to J2 without encountering enemy tanks. Looking at the mini-map, we have decent coverage at every possible approach. Take a hit. And get a hit on the enemy's Model 46. So we have an IS, KV-1S, and the Model 46 directly opposite, and a T-25 AT. The enemy has boxed themselves in at J5 and gives me easy targets to shoot at. I'm using the small hill here to provide hull down protection and to angle my armor further, which will give me more bounces. Already knocks down the Model 46. Bounce a shot on the Churchill 7. Take a look at the position that I'm holding here. I am partially hull down and my armor is angled further back than normal, and I am bouncing shots pretty regularly. Trying to line up the Churchill 7 again. And I hit the top of the hill instead of my target. Tried another shot at the Churchill and I missed. Jagdfan has joined me on this flank. Is Cromwell. Again, Churchill 7. Non-penetrating hit. That time I got a hit on the enemy tank behind the Churchill. That time I penned the Churchill. 7. Get another hit there. IS is now in front. Bounce on him. Actually, it was a non-penetrating hit. Line up the IS again. That time I get a penetrating hit and do damage. The enemy's making this pretty easy on me. They're not pushing, they're not spreading out. They're basically just lined up behind that rock, and every time they pop out, I'm just lining them up and shooting them. I've noticed that the enemy has pushed several tanks up the middle. With only 2 tanks covering this area, I've decided that I need to move to the overlook at H4 to provide supporting fire. Rather than holding this Mexican standoff against these 3 enemies, I'm going to push over and see if I can get some flank shots on these enemies that are pushing the middle. Try to line up the 12T. Missed my shot. They're all way past my ability to shoot at them from this location. So actually the Panther 3-4 comes back, get a hit on him, and our T-34 knocks him down. With no potential shots available and the enemy still pushing the middle, I make the call to climb down the cliff face. Pressing the reverse key while I drop down will help to minimize any damage from falling. Get through with no damage. Line up the T-25 AT. Knock him down. Just an AMX 12T. It is a tank that could potentially outmaneuver me on flat ground. In this case, he will not be able to outturn me. Miss my shot. And he gets knocked down by the Cromwell. Yegfan. After defeating the enemy's middle push, I'm now in position to flank the enemies defending J34. Enemy has a KV-1S, Churchill 7, and an IS in this area. Yegfan knocks down the KV-1S. Currently have a 2-tank lead. And we've stopped all enemy backfield penetration. We made an attempt up the middle and failed. Going after the Churchill 7. Pin him through the front. He's one-shottable now. I don't fear his gun, so I can stay out in the open. And I knock him down. Just the IS on this flank. He bounces a shot. I pen him. Looks like he is running either the 85 or 100 millimeter gun. He's going to be hard pressed to damage me. I get a hit. Bounce another shot. Put him in a face hug. Ram him for a little bit of damage and take his track out. And I get another hit before Yagfan takes him down. Enemy's just down to a Panzer IV-S. We're going to push up and in here and finish this match off. Got 1 tank on cap. Yegfan will be joining him soon, and I won't be far behind. 3 of us jump on cap. And we cap out the base for the win. Based on information from the WoT Replay Manager, I destroyed 2 tanks, damaged 4 more, hit 17 of 21 shots for 2,863 points of damage, and earned 1,444 experience before the double. Overall, while pushing to J2 can be a risky move depending on the enemy's initial tank placement, it can also be an effective sniping location. A tank with gun depression can go hull down in that spot. The enemy, by sticking together at J4, essentially boxed themselves in and gave me easy targets to shoot at. Once I noticed that the enemy was pushing the middle of the map, I moved to the overlook at J4 to provide support. While dropping down the cliff face was a somewhat risky move, the Model 46 is capable of brawling, although it ultimately wasn't necessary. After defeating the enemy's center push, I was able to flank around and take on the enemies at J4 from behind. I bullied the remaining tanks given the one-on-one situations and the fact that the Model 46 has decent front armor. The second replay that we'll be looking at is on Himmelsdorf from January 6th, 2013. Please note that this is an 8.2 patch battle. As noted at the top of the loading screen, this is an encounter battle. Reviewing tank composition for this battle reveals the following. This is a Tier 7 battle with 9 Tier 7s on my team and 8 on the enemy team. My team has 3 Tier 6s while the enemy team has 4. Both teams have 2 Tier 5s and a single Tier 4 arty piece. I don't recognize anyone in this battle. Since this match is an encounter battle, my plan is to go up the hill. There are some rubble piles at G0 which I can hull down behind and snipe at the enemies that climb up. As the battle gets started, I immediately spin around and head up the hill. Looks like I'll have some support. Tiger P and Jagdpanther 4 are climbing the other road up the hill. And there's at least 3 tanks behind me that are climbing as well. Immediately going to head over to this rubble pile where I can get my gun just over the top of it. Use my gun depression. A little bit too far to the right, slide over to the left, and I have some openings now. Back up and line up the T1 Heavy. Get a hit. Line him up again. Another hit. Our Tiger P is pushed forward. I'm not sure why he did that. He's put himself out in the open. But he got a non-penetrating hit on the T150. I'll try to line him up again. He's taking some hits from our other tanks. Get a hit on him. Leave him at 12 hit points. And our T150 knocks him down. While the enemy could push over to the castle, they appeared to be afraid to take hits and hide just beyond the crest of the hill at D0. I haven't taken a single penetrating hit yet. The one negative of this tank destroyer, though, is I'm tall enough that they can see the top of my vehicle, but I can't fire back at them. Right here you can see the size difference between the Model 46 and the Jagdpanther. Model 46 is way bigger. As our priest gets taken out, I notice an enemy medium tank at K2. While I briefly consider pushing over the hill with the rest of the team on this flank, I turn back to take on the enemy medium rather than allow him to run free behind us, allowing our tanks to push in on the enemies that have basically been stalled at D0. And they have enough tanks that I can afford to not continue to push with them. T43 missed my first shot, but I bounce his shot. He is going to have a hard time penning my front armor with the 85mm gun. I get a damaging hit on him. He misses his shot and backs out. I hit him in the top of the turret for another penetrating hit. Tiger's pushing in on him. And I knock him down. With our team already pushed over the hill and enemies spotted near the cap, I push towards the cap. I have noticed an enemy heavy at G5 and plan to head over to the G column. And the enemy has control of the western side of the map, so we need to start pressing in that direction before they start capping. And there's the IS, lining up on his back. Get a hit. He has reacted, he does see me. Get another penetrating hit. Tried to angle my armor to bounce a shot, but I do take some damage there. Lining up again. He is, and I can't shoot at him anymore. He's passed around the corner. He's behind hard cover. I'm going to continue to push. Most of the enemy team is boxed up in the middle, other than a couple enemies at A1. I'm going to use this little bit of rubble here to hide my lower hull for a second. I thought that T-29 was going to keep coming, but he is backed out. He's headed north. Turn towards cap. I'm going to line up the KV-3. I missed my shot. He's burning down though. T-20 comes across my view. I miss him too. T-29 is coming my way. I missed that shot. Get a penetrating hit on the flank of the T-20. The enemy's going to be hard-pressed to cap with so many friendly tanks moving in on them. Miss a shot on the T-29. Backing up, doing a little wiggling. He misses his shot, and I punch through his front armor. While the T-29 typically isn't a tank that you'd want to facehug with, the Model 46 has enough gun depression where the T-29 doesn't have a definitive advantage like it would against a Tiger or an IS. He's trying to back out of it because he knows that I can hit him and I can actually penetrate him from the front, since I can bend my gun down and shoot his front armor. Get another penetrating hit. He's getting a little help from the IS. Our team knocks him down. I've got this T-29 pinned in place. Get another penetrating hit, and then our Jagdpanther destroys him, and we win the match. Based on information from the WoT Replay Manager, I destroyed 1 tank, damaged 5 more, hit 17 of 22 shots for 3,272 points of damage, and earned 1,438 experience before the 5 times. Overall, this is another example of an encounter battle in Himmelsdorf won by controlling the hill. While I have witnessed a few encounter battles won without controlling the hill, those wins are far and few between. I pushed the hill with my team, but rather than pushing forward, I took advantage of the Model 46's gun depression to take up a hull-down spot. The enemy did themselves no favors trying to trade fire with us from the crest of the hill at D0. Once the hill was under control, I knew I needed to turn back and engage the enemy's T-34-85, which had infiltrated our backfield. Once that threat had been dealt with, I pushed towards cap and helped defeat the remaining enemies. While facehugging a T-29 is usually a losing proposition, the gun depression of the Model 46 shined through once again, allowing me to keep the T-29 occupied while my teammates got flank shots on him. Thank you for watching this episode of WoT I'm Thinking. Stay tuned for another episode soon. In the next episode, I will take a look at the T-71 light tank and how this speedy little autoloader can dominate the battlefield.
Ha ha ha.